I, 33-year-old man, have been married to my wife, 31-year-old woman, for 6 years, and we have a 3-year-old child. We are very happy together, and I am lucky to be married to a very kind and smart woman. My wife's best friend, Anna, fake name for anonymity, has been living with us for the last 6 months. I wanted to talk about Anna to give a full context of why I am making my decision. Anna is my wife's best friend since school days. Anna was living in the city with her boyfriend, and we live in the suburbs of that city. They seemed happy together and were in a relationship for 2 years. However, my wife noticed bruises on Anna's hand last year and asked her about it. Initially, Anna dismissed it as work-related injuries. My wife kept on probing, and we learned that Anna was in an extremely toxic and hurtful relationship. Her boyfriend lost his job last year and became extremely controlling and hurtful towards her. He constantly accused her of cheating, Anna denies it, made her link her phone messenger to his computer, and started micromanaging finances. There was an incident of domestic violence that was the final straw, and my wife and I had to rush to the hospital to look after Anna. Since Anna's parents are mostly absent from her life, my wife asked me if Anna can stay with us for a few days. We are 3 people living in a male 4-bedroom house and have 2 spare guest rooms. I, of course, agreed to it and told her that Anna can stay with us as long as she wants. I think the incident completely broke Anna, and she would just start crying randomly and completely shut down. It was really sad to see Anna in that state. She had to leave her job due to mental issues and stayed at home in the room all day. My wife is very kind and took care of Anna like she was family and made sure she felt loved. Anna is also thankful to my wife and me for helping her in her worst time and helps around the house and with our child, though we never leave him alone with Anna. Anna now is coming back to normal, smiles sometimes, and has started looking for a job again. Now on to the incident. Last Friday, my wife and I went to work as normal and dropped our son at daycare. I had a doctor's appointment at noon and came straight home from there as I did not have a lot of work in the office. I made some lunch and then went to my room to sit on my bed and reply to all the emails. Anna was in her room, and I did not talk to her after I came home. Around 2 p.m., I heard Anna's room door open and her walking in the hallway. Suddenly, our bedroom door opened and Anna walked in topless and just in her underwear. I was shocked and not sure how long I was staring at her. But after a few seconds, I blurted out, "I am sorry," and she quickly covered herself with her hands. She was apologetic and started explaining herself. She said she just wanted to borrow my wife's clothes because her laundry was unwashed. It was super embarrassing to have a conversation with her in that state, and I looked away. She again apologized and then went out of the bedroom. The incident lasted less than 2 minutes. After a while, she again came back into our bedroom, fully dressed, and apologized for the incident. She said it was really embarrassing, and she did not know anyone would be home. I said it's okay, and I should have told her I am back early from the office when I came home. She asked me not to mention the incident to my wife. She said she feels embarrassed she walked around the hallway without clothes and that I saw her in that state. I said it's okay and let's forget about it. I have not told my wife about the incident, and it's been 5 days. It was just a benign incident, but I somehow feel guilty about the whole thing. I feel more guilty that I am lying to my wife by omission of the truth. However, I feel that if my wife takes it the wrong way, it may strain her relationship with Anna, and I really feel bad for Anna and what she had to go through. I also do not want to make Anna uncomfortable in our house by telling my wife about her barging into our bedroom in that state. Am I the jerk in this case for not talking about this incident to my wife? I am afraid that if Anna tells it to her first, it will make me look really bad and guilty. However, if I tell her, I do not want her to blame Anna for any of this and not help her in time of her need. Can someone please help me on how I can tell my wife about this? Edit. Lots of things happened since yesterday. I added an update here. Update. Am I the jerk for not telling my wife about an incident with her best friend? R. Ada, Reddit. Comments now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So you already messed this up really badly by not telling your wife the same day what happened. It's going to be a mess to clean up, but it's what you have to do for your family. It's also not your job to manage your wife's friendship, so take that out of this right now. You sit Anna and your wife down right now and talk about it honestly with all 3 of you. Fallout may be bad, but it'll get worse every day that passes that you don't say anything. You're the idiot. Comment 2. Yikes. If I were your wife and you told me yes, I stared for a few seconds and it took her 2 minutes to leave the room, and I kept this hidden for a few days, I'd be so mad at you all. The friend should have immediately walked out the second she saw you, and you should have prioritized your supposed loyalty to your wife and have told her the second she was home. Also, tell her no more naked walks. Imagine if your child was home. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my previous post and for all the advice. It's been a rough 2 weeks since then, and I've got quite the update for you. So, after mulling it over, I decided to come clean to my wife about the whole Anna walking in on me topless thing. I figured honesty was the best policy, and I didn't want it to come back and bite me later. Well, let's just say it didn't go as smoothly as I'd hoped. When I told my wife, she was pretty upset. She couldn't believe I'd kept it from her for almost a week. She started questioning why I didn't tell her right away, and if there was more to the story. I tried to explain that I was just trying to avoid making things awkward for Anna, but my wife wasn't having it. She said she felt betrayed that I'd hide something like that from her. The tension between us was obvious over the next few days. My wife was giving me the cold shoulder, and I could tell she was really hurt. I tried to give her some space, but it was tough living under the same roof with all that unresolved conflict. Meanwhile, Anna could definitely sense something was off. She kept asking if everything was okay, but I didn't want to drag her into our marital issues. I just told her my wife and I were working through some stuff and left it at that. But here's where things really took a turn. A few days after I told my wife about the incident, she sat me down for a serious talk. She said she'd been doing a lot of thinking and she wasn't sure she could trust me anymore. She felt like I'd chosen to protect Anna over being honest with her, and it made her question my loyalty. I tried to reassure her that she was my #1 priority, and that I'd just made a mistake in not telling her sooner. But then she dropped a news on me. She said she'd found some old texts between me and an ex-girlfriend from college, and it had made her start doubting everything. I was floored. I hadn't talked to this ex in years, and the texts were from way before I even met my wife. But I guess in the context of everything that had happened with Anna, it was the straw that broke the camel's back for my wife. She said she needed some time to think, and she was going to stay with her parents for a bit. I begged her not to go, but she said she needed some space to clear her head. She packed a bag, took our son, and just like that, she was gone. I was a mess after she left. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on work. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to figure out where I'd gone wrong. I knew I'd messed up by not telling her about Anna right away, but I never thought it would lead to this. Anna could tell I was struggling, and she felt terrible. She blamed herself for causing problems in my marriage and said maybe it was time for her to move out. As much as I didn't want to lose her friendship and support, I knew she was right. I told her she could stay until she found a new place, but that it was probably for the best in the long run. In the meantime, I was determined to fix things with my wife. I started going to therapy to work on my communication skills and to figure out why I'd been so hesitant to tell her the truth. My therapist helped me see that I had some deep-seated issues with conflict avoidance, stemming back to my childhood. Growing up, my parents had a really volatile relationship. They were always fighting, and I learned early on to just keep my head down and not rock the boat. I realized I'd been carrying that same mentality into my marriage, and it was causing problems. Armed with this new insight, I reached out to my wife and asked if we could talk. She agreed to meet me for coffee, and I laid everything out on the table. I apologized for not being fully honest with her and explained what I'd been working on in therapy. I told her I was committed to being a better husband and father, and that I'd do whatever it took to earn back her trust. To my relief, she said she was willing to give me another chance. She said she'd been doing a lot of reflecting too, and realized she may have overreacted about the texts with my ex. She acknowledged that we both had some work to do on our communication and trust, but that she believed we could get through it together. We agreed to start couples counseling and to take things one day at a time. It hasn't been easy, but slowly but surely we're finding our way back to each other. As for Anna, she ended up moving out last week. She found a little studio apartment not too far from us and seems to be doing well. My wife and I have talked about having her over for dinner soon to clear the air and start fresh. Looking back on everything that's happened, I realize how close I came to losing the most important things in my life. It's been a harsh reminder of what really matters, and the importance of honesty and communication in a relationship. I'm just grateful that my wife and I were able to find our way back to each other, and that we're both committed to putting in the work to make our marriage stronger than ever. It's not going to be a smooth road, but we're in it together, and that's what counts. Anyway, that's the latest from my end. Thanks again for all the support and advice. It really means a lot. Am I the idiot for leaving my husband after he hit me for a peanut mishap and cheated? My husband, 36 years old, and I, 30 years old, have been married for 6 years. We have 2 kids, a 4-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy. I'm a stay-at-home mom now. We didn't discuss this before marriage, but when I gave birth to our daughter, I just couldn't manage working, taking care of our daughter, and doing all the house chores. There were times when I needed help at home, but I felt like I couldn't ask for help because I wasn't bringing in any money. It was also very difficult for me to be financially dependent on my husband. I never asked for anything for me because he sometimes voiced how he felt a lot of pressure as the sole provider. Fast forward to 3 days ago. His younger sister lives in another country and comes to town once or twice a year. Last week, she told him she would visit. My husband and I invited the family for dinner. We were all having a good time when my sister-in-law started coughing and had trouble breathing. It was then I knew she was horribly allergic to peanuts. I later found out that she had gone into anaphylactic shock a few times before. We all rushed to her side to help. I then got slapped on the face from behind, not so hard, but it did sting. I was facing away from my husband, so I didn't see it coming. I tried to explain that no one told me before. I had only seen her a few times after the wedding and never cooked for her. He was yelling at me the whole time I was trying to explain myself. When I told him that he knew I would be doing all the cooking for that night, then why didn't he think of telling me about it? He pushed me down the couch and smacked me on the arms, back, and the back of my head. His family rushed to us and stopped him. They checked if I was okay for a minute, then went back to my sister-in-law's side. His older brother stayed by my side to ensure I was okay and to see if I needed anything. After a few minutes, my husband came back to the living room and acted like nothing happened. My brother-in-law asked him if he had told me about their sister's allergy before, and he didn't answer. I told him I never knew about it until now. My in-laws checked on me one more time and then excused themselves. Only his older brother stayed with us. He asked me if it was the first time my husband laid his hands on me. I couldn't answer with my husband sitting across from us. He suggested we take some time to process and think about what just happened. I left that night with my brother-in-law and took my kids with me. I'm still with him and his wife. My family lives in another country. Both my brother-in-law and his wife suggest I stay until my husband realizes what he really did. My husband did apologize, but said he panicked and was scared for his little sister. They are very close, and growing up, he was like a father to her. He kept repeating that if I cared enough about his family, I would have asked him if anyone has any allergies since I was the one cooking for the night, and he blamed me for his brother's reaction. I don't know where to go from here. I have no relatives here to stay with until I sort everything out. I only have one friend, and I can't stay with her. I grew up in a house where being grabbed by the face or arm was normal. But what happened that night was a little too much. I want my kids, and I don't want to lose them over my decision. My husband suggested couples therapy yesterday. I'm thinking about getting a divorce, or should I just let it slide and start therapy? I really have to think about it all because I know my family won't support me with my decision, and I will be on my own. Edit. My sister-in-law is okay. She's not angry with me for what happened. She even texted twice to check on me and the kids and apologized for not mentioning her allergy before. His family has always been good to me. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Well, definitely not the idiot. But this worries me. He asked me if it was the first time my husband laid his hands on me. I couldn't answer with my husband sitting across from us. So this wasn't the first time, was it? Please consider if you can ever feel safe with your husband before you think about couples therapy or anything else. I'm sorry this happened to you and wish you a lot of strength, OP. Comment 2. You are in an hurtful relationship. Do not go to therapy with an aggressor. All therapy will do is teach them to be better at it and better at hiding it. Stay with your brother-in-law and his wife, document everything, get a lawyer. If he can lay hands on you like that, he'll do it to your kids too. Good luck and not the idiot. You'll only be the arsehole if you bury your head in the sand. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 2 weeks since my last post, and I wanted to give you an update on what's been happening. First off, thank you so much for all your support and advice. It really means a lot to me during this difficult time. So, after the incident with my sister-in-law's allergic reaction and my husband's violent outburst, I decided to stay with my brother-in-law and his wife for a while. It's been a challenging couple of weeks trying to process everything that happened and figuring out what to do next. A few days after I left, my husband came over to my brother-in-law's house, wanting to talk. He apologized again for his behavior and insisted that he was just scared for his sister's life. He begged me to come back home and start couples therapy with him. I told him I needed more time to think things through. While staying with my brother-in-law, I've had the chance to reflect on my marriage and my relationship with my husband. I realized that this wasn't the first time he had been physically aggressive with me. There were a few instances in the past where he had grabbed me roughly or pushed me, but I always brushed it off, thinking it wasn't a big deal. Now, I'm starting to see a pattern of hurtful behavior that I can't ignore. My brother-in-law and his wife have been incredibly supportive during this time. They've encouraged me to prioritize my safety and well-being, as well as that of my children. They've also helped me look into my legal options and connected me with a therapist who specializes in domestic violence. One thing that's been weighing heavily on my mind is a secret that my husband revealed to me a few days ago. He called me, crying, and confessed that he had been unfaithful to me about a year ago. He said it was a one-time thing and that he regretted it deeply. He begged for my forgiveness and promised to do whatever it takes to make things right. This revelation has thrown me for a loop. I'm not sure how to process this new information on top of everything else that's happened. Part of me feels betrayed and angry, while another part of me wonders if I can ever trust him again. I've been doing a lot of soul-searching these past 2 weeks, trying to figure out what I want for myself and my children. I know that I don't want to raise my kids in an environment where violence and infidelity are tolerated, but I also know that leaving my husband would mean starting over on my own, without the support of my family back home. It's a hard choice, and I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. I'm taking things one day at a time, focusing on my own healing and the well-being of my kids. I'm grateful for the support of my brother-in-law and his wife, as well as the kind words and advice from strangers on the internet. I know I have a long road ahead of me, but I'm determined to do what's best for myself and my children. Thank you again for listening and for your continued support. It means more than you know. Am I the idiot for rehoming the dog? My cheating ex neglected then tried to steal back? I own a small house in a high cost of living, HQL city. Most people who live here either have very high-paying jobs or have multiple roommates. A one-bedroom apartment is $2,800. I was lucky enough to buy my house over 10 years ago and get a gift from my family to make it possible. My ex is a teacher. We lived together for 3 years. She paid half the mortgage, her part was $800 a month while she was here. During that time, we discussed our future and made plans. We also got a rescue dog because she wanted one. I was willing to get one because I loved her at the time. It was always her dog, though. It is very difficult to get housing that allows pets, so she was overjoyed to be able to have a dog. 7 months ago, I found out she was cheating on me with another teacher from her school. His wife found out and kicked him out. She asked if he could move in here, which is how I found out. I said no. She said she paid rent and had rights. I asked her to show me a signed lease. She didn't have one, obviously. I said I would let her sign a lease and let him move in. All it would require was first and last month's rent. That would be about $8,000 for 2/3 of a house in my neighborhood. Plus, she would start having to pay 2/3 of all utilities and her own groceries. In fact, I asked her to sign a lease for market value. Her boyfriend was still paying at his house for his wife and kids. My ex and him didn't have that kind of money. They ended up moving to a shoot-hole apartment with a very long commute. I don't have time for a dog with my job, so I told her she needed to take him. She asked me to please take care of Haley until they found a place that accepts pets. And I did, for 6 months. She started coming by less and less to see Haley. I had to take on more responsibility for her dog. I got one of the neighbor kids to walk the dog for me. She also would look after it for me when I went out of town, at her house with her parents' permission. The kid always loved the dog. I told my ex that she needed to come get Haley. She refused. I asked my neighbor if they wanted to take her. They said yes. Haley is an excellent dog. She is well-trained and very smart. If I was a dog person, I would want a dog like her. I gave my ex 2 weeks to arrange for something regarding Haley. She blocked me. That was more than a month ago. The neighbor kid took the dog 2 weeks ago to see how she did in their house. Everything went great. Haley likes her more than she likes me. I gave Haley and all her stuff to the neighbors. We went to the vet and had the chip transferred to them. My ex called me to beg me to take care of Haley just a little longer. She had not given me money for dog food or come by to see Haley in a month at this point, so I told her that I had rehomed Haley with someone responsible. She is telling everyone that I'm a jerk for giving away her dog. I paid for Haley, I paid for all Haley's bills, I was registered with the city and the vet as Haley's owner. Haley was legally mine. Haley is in a better place now. I see her in the park now and then. I have no idea how my ex is doing now. After a bunch of our mutual friends said it wasn't my responsibility to take care of Haley, she blocked a bunch of us. I do hope she is okay. I hope she is happy with her new guy. I know it's hard to detect sarcasm in text, so I will be clear that I am not being sarcastic. I loved my ex, and I am still hurt by what she did. But I don't wish anything bad for her. People grow apart. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Your ex fricked up her own living situation. She can't expect you to take care of her dog for nearly a year. Plus, if you don't have time for a dog, you can't realistically fulfill its needs. The dog is in a much better situation with a responsible family than with your ex in a shitty apartment anyway. Comment 2, not the idiot. If someone told me they left the dog for 6 months and wasn't paying a dime towards the dog, I would be happy that it was rehomed to someone who would be responsible. Just make sure people have the full story, and I think they will side with you. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post about my ex and our dog Haley. I appreciate all the support and advice you gave me. It's been a tough few days since then, and I wanted to give you an update on what's been happening. After I rehomed Haley with my neighbors, my ex started blowing up my phone with angry texts and voicemails. She accused me of stealing her dog and threatened to take legal action against me. I tried to explain to her that Haley was legally mine and that I had given her plenty of opportunities to take care of her. But she wouldn't listen. Things took a turn for the worse when my ex showed up at my house unannounced. She was screaming and banging on my door, demanding that I give Haley back to her. I didn't want to escalate the situation, so I called the police. When they arrived, my ex tried to convince them that I had stolen her dog, but I showed them all the paperwork proving that Haley was mine. The police told my ex to leave and not come back unless she had a court order. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was wrong. The next day, I got a call from my neighbor saying that my ex had tried to break into their house to take Haley. Thankfully, they had a security system and were able to scare her off before she could do any damage. I was shocked and scared for Haley's safety. I decided to take some time off work to deal with the situation. I filed a restraining order against my ex and made sure that my neighbors had all the necessary documentation to prove that Haley was theirs. It was a stressful and emotional process, but I knew I had to do it to protect Haley and myself. As I was dealing with all of this, I started to reflect on my relationship with my ex. I realized that there had been red flags from the beginning that I had ignored. She had always been possessive and controlling, even before we got Haley. I remembered how she would get jealous whenever I spent time with my friends or family, and how she would try to isolate me from them. I also realized that she had never really taken responsibility for Haley's care, even when we were together. It was always me who took her to the vet, bought her food, and made sure she got enough exercise. I started to see that my ex's behavior with Haley was just an extension of her overall personality. She wanted to have control over everything and everyone in her life, and when she couldn't, she lashed out. It was a painful realization, but it helped me to see that I had made the right decision in ending our relationship and rehoming Haley. Despite all the drama and stress, I'm happy to report that Haley is doing great with her new family. My neighbors have been sending me regular updates and photos of her, and she looks happier than ever. It's a relief to know that she's in a safe and loving home. As for me, I'm taking things one day at a time. I'm still processing everything that's happened and trying to move forward with my life. I know that I made the right choice for myself and for Haley, even if it was a difficult one. I want to thank you all again for your support and encouragement. It means a lot to me to know that I'm not alone in this. I hope that by sharing my story, I can help others who might be going through similar situations. That's all for now. Thanks for reading, and take care. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!